Millennials may have built a house in Indonesia for Habitat for Humanity or the like, but they know very little about the corporate world and how it operates. When we talk about the millennials, we're talking about a generation born somewhere between 1980 and the year 2000. There are about 76 million of them in the US population today, and that number is still growing due to immigration. And they can be defined in several different ways. One, confident. They've been raised by parents who believed in the importance of self-esteem, and they worked hard to build the confidence of their millennial offspring. They're also a hopeful generation, very optimistic about what they can accomplish, and at the same time, quite practical. They know how to get things done. They're goal and achievement oriented. Many millennials arrive on that first day on the job, and guess what? They've got a piece of paper with their goals already written down. They're ready to go.
Where do you see yourself in 3 years?
Well, I figure I'll be in my current position a couple of months, and then I'd like to do senior sales, you know, for a couple of years, and then I figure I'll be management, like you.
A typical company is likely to have a combination of all the generations: baby boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, and maybe even veterans, the oldest generation. Each generation is going to show up with its own set of values, and sometimes those values are bound to collide. For example, baby boomers entered the workforce in the millions, 80 million of them to be exact. And those sheer numbers created an automatic sense of competition. Baby boomers were expected to do whatever it took to get things done, put in those extra hours, pay their dues in order to get ahead. Now for Generation Xers, it was a little bit different. Yes, they were expected to work hard, but they also had a little bit more flexibility to work independently. So they got creative with their time. A typical Generation Xer might have worked 9 to 5, then rushed home to be able to have dinner with their family, only to pick up where they left off after the kids went to bed and put in a few more hours on the job electronically. Now the millennials. Well, yes, they're well educated and they're in demand, and they also know it. You have to remember that this is the generation that had doting parents growing up. Millennials certainly don't mind working hard. It's just that they might expect to get something back when they put in extra hours.
So, I was thinking I would take off. It's like 8 o'clock and my friend's band is playing at 9. Tomorrow, I was thinking I would roll in around noon because I stayed really late tonight.
What makes millennials difficult to manage is trying to use our perspectives and our values to do so. In order to recruit millennials, your company really needs to become millennial friendly. For one, remember, millennials are very techno-savvy, so you need a company website that's going to make your company and the jobs you offer come alive for the millennials. And remember, millennials are not just looking for a job, they're looking to be involved with a company that has great values, a bigger vision. They need to know how your company is contributing to the world.
The position sounds great. I'm just interested in knowing more about your involvement with humanitarian issues.
And then when you do recruit them, you need to set expectations early on. If your job requires a bunch of grunt work and long hours, don't sugarcoat it. Be honest up front about what's expected. I think one of the most important things to know about managing millennials is that they like to work collaboratively.
So, can I bounce something off of you?
Sure, but this makes it the 4th time this morning you want to bounce something off me.
Now for a Generation X manager who's been used to a lot of independence and being an independent operator, that can prove to be pretty challenging.
Can you please have the markups complete by end of business today?
Yeah, no problem. I'll get Dave to stop whatever he's doing and help me.
I was thinking maybe you could tackle this one on your own.
One solution I often suggest is to have your millennials work in teams of 2. It takes a little bit of the pressure off that manager to be collaborating all the time, and it helps the millennials encourage each other. Now we know millennials are also great multitaskers, but they do need guidance. Be very specific about what you want done and by when. And then I'd suggest checking in with them fairly often, even daily, just to see how they're progressing and make sure they're on the right track. They'll not only welcome your input, they'll expect it. One of the big questions on everybody's mind is, once we get millennials in the door, how are we going to retain them? Well, there are a few tips that make a lot of sense for this generation. First, be the leader. This is a generation that's grown up with structure and supervision and with parents who were fantastic role models. So it's not that they don't want to be leaders themselves, it's just that they're looking for some role modeling first so that they know how to get there. Next, keep them challenged. Millennials want learning opportunities. They want to be assigned to projects that they can continually learn from so they feel they're getting ahead.
And after that, we're going to talk about domination of outer space.
Third, make it fun. A little bit of humor, a little silliness, even a little irreverence can make your work environment much more attractive for millennials.
I know we're slammed.
Respect. Respect millennials for their ideas, for who they are, even though they look young. Treating them respectfully is going to help them feel they have a place with you.
Great.
And be flexible. The busiest generation ever isn't going to give up all of its activities just because they have a full-time job. With all we've said about how we can work to accommodate the millennial generation, it goes both ways. Millennials also need to respect the structure that already exists in our companies. As a manager, you can help them adapt to the rules and expectations that already exist.
I see a lot of potential in you, so I'm going to give you a word of advice. When you email the senior VP, don't start with, "Hey, you."
The truth is, new generations are always going to be entering the workforce, and you will most likely have 2 or 3 or even 4 different generations working together side by side in your company. The key to achieving harmony and ultimately productivity is to understand the perspective of each of those generations.
For more information, go to bnet.com.